want, to see how far your strength can take you, that you need to establish how to obtain what it is you want. You have to be honest with yourself about what you're chasing down. But it also says that you must not ask another to go after it. Now, you may be surrounded by people who have a very different idea as to, what you should be tracking down. When you're looking at vanity, you're talking about people who are operating on the material level. And you may be moving away from that now, because like I said, it's about lesser companions, empty conversations, moving away from people that you are growing away from. But the card at a glance says, it asks rather, are you living and communicating your truth or just playing along? This may be a time of awakening to a new way of being. Be aware of distractions that may pull you away from the true you, or pull you away from what you should be aggressively seeking rather than. Alright, Sag, here we go. Here's your overall for the week, the Two of Wands. So, thinking about taking action. There are two paths that you can take. Right, and this one points that out more so than any other Two of Wands. Now, usually it's really about what action you're going to take, making some plans here on taking action towards something. But, right, like you could do something this way or you could go this way. But you're looking to act on something right now, but needing to, plan it. Oh, shit. So, in the past, the Three of Swords, going through a heartbreaking situation, and with the star falling out, that is good. It's good to see that you're getting to a place of, healing and forgiveness and understanding. But, I look at this more so as the reason why you're making different choices now. In the present, the Nine of Cups, yeah. And with the star again. So, I don't so much feel like this has anything to do with you being happy with the things that you have. I think that you're looking at what you actually want this time. Especially coming out of the Three of Swords. But the Nine of Cups is good to see. But, as far as what you're wanting, I'm waiting to see what's happening here. But again, you're not really taking any action, though. You're thinking about what you need to do to get to what you're actually wanting. What is actually going to make you happy. Rather than being stuck with this. Future conditions, temperance. And there you are. So, kind of getting back to who you are in future conditions, which is great. Equilibrium, right? Getting that nice balance between how you're feeling, what you're thinking. I think some of you are being patient when it comes to actually getting what you want this time. But again, getting back to a place of, better balance. And again, I go back to the two oracle cards, absolutely makes sense. But with Hunter, I think that with the Two of Wands being here, that you really need to start, putting in the action. Rather than, waiting. But, like I said, with Temperance being here, I feel like you're getting to a better place when it comes to what is going on with you internally. Your best path to follow, Justice. Damn. Now, I don't think that this has anything to do with you needing to correct wrongs, because you are the one that experienced the Three of Swords. Now, looking at this as your best path to follow, when we're talking about, making choices, right, it is about making fair and balanced choices for yourself. But man, I kind of go back to the Nine of Cups, and, I'm worried a little bit about that. It's one of those things where I feel like maybe you have hopes and desires, but, is it really something that is going to be right for you? But like I said, I don't think that there's anything that you need to correct. I just think that for some of you, it's, again, majorly needing to come to a place of balance. But, I think you get there, with Temperance being there. But, I still see this whole process of you patiently waiting to get what you want and thinking about how you're going to do that. And I go back to Hunter, but, is it right for you? with justice being there. Oh boy. Alright, so in your environment, the Queen of Swords. Now, for some of you, it may have to do with possibly wanting something with someone, but there being like heartbreak attached to that, or attached to the person that may be in your environment. But the Queen of Swords being here, like it's either you or them that's like shut off. Because I look at her and I think, definitely this is somebody who's been through a lot of shit, right? But she's very like standoffish. As much as she likes to act like she's still open and ready to receive, man, that sword's ready to go. And really, if we're talking about a person in your environment, we could be talking about an air sign. But, and it goes back to that feeling of, is this like, I hate saying it like this, but is it a realistic thing? You may be hoping for something involving somebody, but it may not be like the right thing for you right now, again, because of justice being here, and then you got Libra going on. But I don't know, and then I do think that for some of you, you may be looking at going after what you actually want this time rather than, dealing with this being the issue, right? But I still get the feeling that you're dealing with somebody in your environment. And when we're talking about wishes fulfilled and then looking at the star, yeah, like this may be someone that you may want to be involved with. But then, again, with the Queen of Swords, right, if you've been through a separation or a heartbreaking situation, you may be just happy on your own, because she is looked at as like the divorced single woman, right? Which is possible. But, like, still, I get the feeling that there's something that you're wanting to act toward that you want, but, is it the right thing for you? Your hopes and your fears of the Fool, and that's not bad, and I kind of look at it as you may be hoping to be able to just kind of like take a leap of faith with something and go with it and not really worry about, what's going to happen. But are you willing to take a risk though? Is the other thing, because you're not really acting though with the Two of Wands being the overall. But like I do think that for some of you, you're just needing a brand new path, period. Rather than, being in this space of like being cold and being shut off. But I do love the fact that she's straight to the point, right? No bullshit. She just says like it is. But I still see you getting back to this place of being better in better balance with yourself. But like I think that some of you are either looking at, taking a risk here when it comes to either dealing with a person or needing to take a new path completely here. One of the things that I always say when it comes to the Nine of Cups is that you hold your own happiness in your hands. It's up to you to create that. If we place it in the hands of others, they always fail to do that, But like I don't know, I get more of a feeling of you're needing to make the choice here. Do you stay with, the difficult things that you've been through and stay in this space of being cold and shut off, or do you move down a different direction here where, you could possibly have what you want? Oh boy. And then coming out the Moon. Now, and that may be why you're not able to really act on something right now. I mean, if you're dealing with separation or heartbreak, it's not like the Eight of Cups where you're still dealing with something but not really moving on. But it kinda has that feeling with the Moon coming out. Now, definitely it could be like all of the things that, you felt were not clear to you, maybe coming out now. Like getting, that illumination, absolutely, with the Moon. But like I see fear, I see anxiety with this, right? The Moon does not fully illuminate our path. It's all about paying attention to your instincts when it comes to taking that path out of illusion and deceit and getting back to the illumination and that clarity, right? Now, it could just be things about yourself that are coming to the surface that you're dealing with, right? And emotional confusion comes up with that, though, too. And that may be why, we're needing to get back to that balance. So, and like I said, it does have that feeling of the Eight of Cups between the two. So, first of all, with the Queen of Cups, to me, this is saying that there may be emotional difficulty because there may have been like attachment to possibly a person and there being a heartbreaking situation involving them, and you move into this place where you're like cold and shut off. And there may be like some confusion, not understanding how you feel, because with the Queen of Cups, to me, no matter who you're dealing with, whether you're talking about water or air, like the energy surrounding the court card is what's more important to me. This, to me, is signaling what you may be feeling because of a person that is around you. So there may be some confusion. Oh my God, if I could talk right, around the way that you feel about a person, especially if there's like want there. But then with the Six of Pentacles, right, the equal give and take, and then this is like the minor to the major here. And again, what is fair and balanced for you? Are you willing to continue to give to a situation where you're not going to get anything out of it? Well, with the Eight of Cups, clearly you're not. You have to stop feeding emotionally into the heartache, is what I feel like coming out of this. Because, if you weren't, I don't think that you would be in a space where you may be, and I hate saying this, a little bit bitter. But I do still think that you are focused right now on what is actually going to make you happy. Rather than placing it in the hands of others, it's really about you going after what is really going to make you happy. But that can be hard to do if you're focused on a heartbreaking situation involving a person where you don't know how you feel, and then not like giving into this anymore. Now's the time to walk away. But like I said, with the Eight of Cups, the reason why we don't do that is because you don't know what's going to happen with the moon being there. I mean, Christ. And it makes sense that temperance is connected to this. It's like you're trying, but you're still at the crossroads, with the Two of Wands being there. Do you continue to deal with this, or do you get to a place where you finally realize that enough is enough? Wow, Sag. And, again, with vanity, you may be moving away from limiting relationships, and it makes me wonder if some of you have been dealing with people that, look at what you have rather than, who you are. But, hell, man, that damn Eight of Cups, like, I had a feeling around now. But I would say that with the Fool being there, like, I do think that some of you are definitely needing a new path here, where you're not dealing with not knowing, not understanding, needing to be a little bit more focused on, where you're going to find balance in your life, and not being surrounded with this energy of, like, being harsh, but who can blame you? I mean, with the Three of Swords being connected to this. What bothers me about this for singles is, one of the things that I point out with this card is you can see his hand pushing her face away. This may be somebody who is trying to come in to fix something, but it may be too late. But you're being asked here to have faith in the situation, right? Like, if some of you have been through like a difficult breakup, I think that either you or the other person here are trying to fix things. But with trust being there, it's either you need to trust that this is done with for a reason, or that, this is actually going to get to a place where you can actually fix what is happening, you or the other person. But I don't know, I feel iffy about that. Now, for those of you who are in a relationship, oh boy, the Five of Cups with reconciliation, you may have somebody from the past that's coming back through that is wanting to apologize to you. And again, it goes right back to this whole feeling of, if you've been through a split up, or a breakup here, it looks like somebody is trying to apologize for, whatever mistake they made, and really it's up to you on whether or not you can release that and forgive, you know, but it does look like somebody is trying to make amends here, you know. But either way, I mean, for both of you, with singles and couples, it looks like somebody is trying to fix something. And that may be why you're moving into this place with the moon and the Queen of Cups where you're like not really in tune with your own emotions, especially with the Queen of Swords being there. But again, I go right back to it's because of this, but yet you're still with it. Like, you're still with it. I don't think with the moon and the Eight of Cups coming out on this that you've actually fully walked away from this yet. And it's easy enough for somebody to tell you that you have to do that, but there is a reason why you're still like not finished with this yet. There may be things that just aren't resolved all the way yet as far as this goes, especially in terms of relationships. But what is fair? What is fair? What is going to be balanced? It's really about you and getting back to a place where you feel like you're balanced and you're not, dealing with this kind of like emotional confusion surrounding why you're going through this. But it does, to me, look like in both of these, somebody is trying to come back and make the situation right. Alright, Sag, so I do think that with Hunter and Vanity, you guys are like aggressively trying to move away from people who would otherwise limit you. And that is really what these two feel like. I mean, again with Vanity, you're just at a different level. And you may be dealing with people that are looking at what you have rather than who you are. Now, again with the Two of Wands, the only reason why I feel like you're in this position right now is because there clearly here is something that you're just not finished with yet. Again, with the moon coming out and the Queen of Cups, no matter who you're dealing with here, this is emotional confusion at its best. But it wouldn't be so difficult if there wasn't the attachment there, which, I say when it comes to the Queen of Cups, but it had an Eight of Cups type of feel to it. And then here you go, with the Six of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups, you're not finished with it yet. I don't think that you're finished with it yet. But you're still looking here with the Six of Pentacles at whether or not it's worth continuing to give to if you're not going to get what you want out of this. Like, I get the sense that some of you are trying to get, like, back in better balance with yourself. It's like you could either do this or you could either go back to a place of not knowing, not understanding. And I do think that for some of you it is going to have to do with either a breakup or a split up or a difficult situation, heartbreaking separation. But it totally makes sense that this would be the energy surrounding you, even if we are talking about a person in your space. With the Queen of Swords, yeah, I would be emotionally detached from it too. But then at the same time, it's like you're trying to close yourself off, but at the same time, with the Nine of Cups, what are you really wanting out of this? And then again, it is about what you want, and then I look at the Fool, and I think some of you really are needing a new path. Instead of continuing to deal, with this Eight of Cups type of energy here. Now, we could definitely be talking about a relationship or the loss of a job. But I don't... to me, it's difficult looking at these two. I think that you're trying to get back to... Oh my god, if I could talk right. I think that you are trying to get back to a place of balance for you. And really it's about what is fair for you. I don't think that it's about you having to correct any wrongs. But I do think that you may have somebody coming through that is trying to make amends with you. But then the question becomes, is it really fair and balanced for you to continue to feed into a situation that's not giving you shit? It's not giving you what you want. It's not going to bring any happiness anymore. And you really should be focused on what's going to make you happy. And I don't blame some of you for being cold and shut off, but like, I don't know. It may be one of those things where it's like a persistent thing coming through, especially if we're talking about relationships, my God. So trust in the Nine of Wands for those of you who are single. And again, if you've been through a breakup here, it looks like somebody is trying to come through to correct things. And if this is what you are wanting, then, you have to have faith that things are going to work out, right? But I don't know. I don't like the energy around it because the other person's like, back off. It may be too late to fix this. And either way, though, you have to trust that you are making the right choice for you. Now, for those of you who are in a relationship, reconciliation and the Five of Cups, it goes right back to what I was saying before. If you've been through a breakup, it looks like somebody's trying to come through and apologize and maybe make things right. It may lead to reconciliation, absolutely, but still, and then I look back at this and think, man, somebody did something wrong. And I don't, it's frustrating because I don't feel like it's fair to you because you kick this off with the Three of Swords. But what I will say, though, is, with the Eight of Cups, anybody can tell you that you need to walk away from something, but it's not always that easy. And I say that all the time with that one. That one, to me, is more difficult to look at than the Ten of Swords, because at least there it's over with. This isn't. You're not done yet. You're not done with this. And with the Moon being there, I would say, especially with Justice being your best path to follow, and then looking at the Moon coming out on this in the clarifiers, now is not the time for you to make any final decisions about any situation. I mean, as far as looking at what you actually want, absolutely, that is what you should be aggressively tracking down. But, it may stop you. It may, stop you in your tracks if you have something coming back through that you were never really done with to begin with. But I just don't see you happy with this.